right. Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you all here. We're so happy on this beautiful Monday. This is session 102. It's almost 2 years in, to Roadmap for a Moral Society. We're so happy to have all of you here as we discuss various subjects from the Baha'i writings that we believe, taken collectively together, form a roadmap for how society can function, can progress, and can really, as a united world, be a peaceful place to live, that we don't fear about our mutually assured destruction. We don't fear about death. We don't fear about being unjustly treated by someone because of the traditional historical norms of the past, where the wrong, evil deeds just happen and people suffer. We live in a world that is changing. We believe that there's an energy released in this world, and this energy, as chaotic as it is, we believe that there's a roadmap to put this very, very powerful energy that's released in our world to good use. One direction that we believe will be ordained by God. So with that being said, we're starting this session sourcing from the Baha'i writings, today speaking on the subject of the love of God. It's quite a heavy subject, actually, when we think about what does the love of God mean. So we've discussed a little bit last session on the subject from the Baha'i writings, some of it consisting of provisional translations from the Baha'i writings that you won't find in English in the authentic library. If you go to Baha'i.org, or you go to reference.baha'i.org, or you go to oceanlibrary.com, you'll find a lot of beautiful Baha'i writings, but not all of them are the writings that we're referring to here, that we're pulling from the Persian and the Arabic, that are yet to be authentically translated. And further, last but not least, all of your opinions, all of the opinions of the people talking here exclusively remain our own. And of course, it's not to be taken as the writings of the Baha'i faith. What we are saying as individuals and our own impressions, we're forming our opinions based off of our own ideas and those of our environment around us. Our societies we belong to really affect how we think. So please remember, when you're looking at this, your investigation of the Baha'i faith, of the Baha'i teachings, of the writings in front of you is your own. Your opinions, your interpretation is your own. We are not deciding for you anything, but we hope that we entice you to learn more. With that being said, with our hopes for the best outcome, we're going to say a prayer. After our opening prayer, we'll resume and start this session 102. So our opening prayer, Armin, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
O thou loving provider, these souls have hearkened to the summons of the kingdom, and have gazed upon the glory of the Sun of Truth. They have risen upward to the refreshing skies of love. They are enamored of thy nature, and they worship thy beauty. Unto thee have they turned themselves, speaking together of thee, seeking out thy dwelling, and thirsting for the water brooks of thy heavenly realm. Thou art the giver, the bestower, the ever-loving. Abdu'l-Baha.
Thank you, Armin, for that beautiful prayer. So it looks like here there are bullets in front of us, Jeremiah. This looks like it belongs to, as notes, the previous quotation that was on the previous page. Yeah, here we are. Okay. So yeah, the following page, Jeremiah, it looks like they're like citations and so on. So maybe we can read starting from item 3, from quote number 3. So if we could have a voluntary reader.
I guess I can do it.
Sure. Yes, please, Terry.
All right. The reality of divinity shone forth upon all created things through love, inasmuch as love is the greatest divine outpouring. Love is the source of creation. Were it not for the love of God, naught would have set forth in the realm of existence. It is by virtue of this divine outpouring that there is love and harmony among all created things. Abdu'l-Baha's words are addressed in the first instance to the American believers. You want me to go ahead and read number 2 too?
Yes, go
I
ahead.
think it's a good idea. Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. O ye beloved of the Lord, strive to become the manifestations of the love of God, the lamps of divine guidance, shining amongst the kindreds of the earth with the light of love in concord. All hail to the revealers of this glorious light.
These words are so strong and so powerful. So I know we have plenty of people here that may have heard these sessions last week, the session last week, these quotes. If we could have just some thoughts from those who attended or those who are just now joining and find this has touched your heart, please, we would love to have your thoughts and ideas. And what can we all possibly learn from these quotes?
I guess what they're trying to tell us is these quotes are trying to, I guess, when we talk about our own personal character and how we interact with people, it's just make sure that our motivation is the love of God and not our selfish desires, so to speak. And, it's just like, I think in a previous session, we talked about the 4 types of love. You had the creator, love the creation, and the creator loved the manifestation, and then there's something about the creation loving another creation, and then you have the manifestation loves God, or the creation loves the manifestation, and the manifestation loves the creation. And the one reality is that if you love the manifestation of God, in reality, you're putting forward the love of God if you love the manifestation, so to speak. At least that's my interpretation of what I've read in other passages.
Can I just say something about love?
Yes, please.
Because there is a lot of people think that in the 7 valleys, for example, the first 3 are a search and love, and there's a lot of conversation with other Baha'is around the fact that what comes first, love or knowledge. And the thing that I'm, and as you said, it's a disclaimer, because this is just where just viewing this and looking at it and saying, well, if everybody understood what real love was, the thing that's consistent throughout the ages is the one source is love, because religions may change, the laws may change, but this law of love, it never changes. It never changes. I mean, prophets come, prophets go, religions reach their peak, and then they muck up, and then another prophet comes. But the thing that rules all of this throughout eternity, and will continue to do so, is the law of love. So it's pretty huge, because the only thing across all the misunderstandings and levels of consciousness is the law of love. I mean, it is the same in every faith. It never alters. So I am enamored of love, because I think that until you really begin to allow, on whatever level of consciousness you're on, love into your very being. And the practice of that, you know, acts of service, prayer, fasting, all of it, the laws, you can't really experience it. And I think that half the problems in the world today is because people really don't know what love is. Not the eternal kind, you know, the four kinds that Abdu'l-Baha speaks about very carefully, because a lot of people think that, you know, the love that exists between friends, you know, is true love, but it's subject to transmutation. So we've got to get it in our consciousness, what that is really, what that defines. So my point being this, that, you know, from that comes transformation, comes civilizations that reach their peak and continuing through this revelation, the like of which we'll have never seen before, the level of maturity. But the one fundamental law throughout all of this is the law of love. You know, first and foremost, that never changes. The laws change. Everything else changes, but not love. Just thought I'd put that in there. Thanks.
I just posted something in the chat, you know, concerning what I just talked about.
So it was very interesting, all these points people shared. Now, again, these quotes that we're reading, there are so many other quotes that talk about love as well. I'm always reminded of the beautiful hidden word, love me, that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. Notice, O servant. Now that hidden word, beautiful one, speaks about a very important concept, as well as all that we've seen here. The love of God is always shining. It's always being poured upon us. There's no end to it. At the same time, as you would see with anything that's shining under the sun, some things might shine white, some things might shine blue, red, silver, gold, whatever color you see. But all of these colors you see are a result of what's being reflected back at you, actually. So those colors that are shining light back at you, the color that is not being absorbed is actually what you're seeing. So, for example, something that's black absorbs all the colors. Something that's white reflects all the colors. Something that's red, it reflects what? It reflects red. Something that is blue, all the other colors are reflected. No, blue is reflected. All the other colors are absorbed. It's an interesting concept, just to say that in existence, we can see it readily apparent before us, the way the world works around us. And then when we look at the spiritual realities of our own souls, that God is always loving us, and it's really our choice to love God. This idea of this choice to love God really drives home the idea that we're the ones limiting how much of God's love that we let in, and therefore how much of the miracles, how much of the divine confirmations, how much of the beautiful benefits and energy that God really is giving us that we choose to partake of. So just an idea as we're moving along, because it's talking here, when we read it out loud, we're speaking, we say the reality of divinity shown forth upon all created things through love, inasmuch as love is the greatest divine outpouring. Love is the source of creation, were it not for the love of God, naught would have set foot in the realm of existence. It is by virtue of this divine outpouring that there is love and harmony among all created things. This is amazing. And when we look at scientific understanding of reality, how light shines upon all things, where we, again, We talk about the Son of Truth in the Baha'i writings. We talk about the light of God. We talk about light and its relation emanating from God to us, receiving God's light, shining forth in the mirrors of our hearts, whatever we can reflect. All these ideas, just thinking about the scientific reality that we can investigate about light shining on objects, it's amazing the striking resemblance, how we're able to draw from that reality that we can observe and test for ourselves, how we're able to draw parallels with this love that God shines and sheds upon us, this outpouring, this divine outpouring of that love. So if there are no other thoughts, I think we can move on to the next quote.
Oh, just one, John. Along
Sure.
along the line of science is the law of attraction, which you can have a look at atoms and quantum physics and various things that point to underpinningly that law of attraction. I just thought I wanted to add that to it. Yeah.
Here we are. So if we can have another volunteer, if I can volunteer Greg, can you unmute yourself, Greg, please?
I got this one. Second, cometh the love of God, the light of which shineth in the lamp of the hearts of those who know God. Its brilliant rays illuminate the horizon and give to man the life of the kingdom. In truth, the fruit of human existence is the love of God. For this love is the spirit of life and the eternal bounty. If the love of God did not exist, the contingent world would be in darkness. If the love of God did not exist, the hearts of men would be dead and deprived of the sensations of existence. If the love of God did not exist, the perfections of the human world would be utterly annihilated. If the love of God did not exist, true interconnection in this mortal life would be impossible. If the love of God did not exist, spiritual union would be lost. If the love of God did not exist, the light of unity would not illuminate humanity. If the love of God did not exist, the East and West, like two lovers, would not embrace each other. If the love of God did not exist, division and disunion would not be changed into fraternity. If the love of God did not exist, indifference would not end in affection. If the love of God did not exist, the stranger would not become the friend. There's a lot there. Any thoughts?
Yes, I have. I just want to add to that. I mean, how can you add to it? It's huge. Okay. In the world of existence, there is indeed no greater power than that, and than the power of love. When the heart of man is aglow with the flame of love, he is ready to sacrifice all, even his life. In the gospel, it is said, God is love. Yeah, so there are 4 kinds, but I just wanted to put that in there because that's me. It's huge. Thank you.
Well, again, you've got this concept of light, right? Can everyone see that? The use of light as a literary device to help us understand the spiritual concept.
I have a question. How do you
Ardia,
learn to
please.
how do you learn to open your heart to the love of God if you're maybe ignorant of it or you're not aware of it?
I mean, it's very different for everyone, because if you think about it, every single person has their own way of understanding the world. No one person really truly thinks the same as the other. It's just that's something, unfortunately, we can scientifically prove. Unfortunately, perspective, if you're looking for the same, you'll never find that. But the beauty of it, where we as Baha'is believe in unity and diversity, we believe that everyone has something unique to offer. And Baha'u'llah speaks of us as a mind rich in gems, full of really gems of inestimable value. And education, of course, can bring that out. So the first step that we have to take is just being humble to realize that we want to learn, the being open to learning, being willing to learn, to seek the truth. There's a beautiful tablet, actually. They call it the Tablet of the True Seeker. We can also read it in the Kitab-i-Iqan about what it means to be a true seeker. This concept, if dwelled on a little bit, it helps us understand how to look at reality. But additional to that, you also have the issue of the love that we have for our reality around us when we're just investigating the world. So I imagine you found scientists in our society that are investigating reality all the time. These people that are investigating reality, they have a method by which they try to yield a result. The scientific method that they use, which starts off with the observation, I find it funny because an observation is important and a hypothesis which comes from it is important. That all being said, you still need to be willing to ask the question. If you're not asking the question, you're not going to have a hypothesis to maybe answer that question that you can test out.
Right.
So love is foundational to everything, in that if we are to take the first step to even ask the question, love has appeared in order for it to even be asked. For us to be attracted to something, to investigate it in of itself, is that spark of love. And we feed that love by every step we take to investigate further. Of course, there's many ways to understand this a lot better than how I've just gleaned an idea. But the idea that we don't know, and the idea that we can ask a question and find the answer, and we have this huge world around us to understand concepts that our Creator has made. It's so huge. There's so many ways we can start that journey.
John, may I add something here?
Please, welcome.
I'm sorry. I think Sean had his hand raised. I'm very sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes,
Sean.
Sean, then come, please.
Can you hear me? Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear me. You asked about the question of how do you open your heart to love of God, and I'm 53 years old, and it was only about 51 when I started feeling love for other people, and that feels very strong sometimes. But as far as love for God, sometimes I don't always have that, but I do feel love for other people, but it took till I was 50 years old to feel that. So, don't worry about it. There's joy and peace. I feel peace and stuff too, but as you're not alone wondering about that.
Thank you, man.
Okay, what I want to add here is that there is an innate desire in every human being to worship. This is God given to every human being. In the old days, when they did not recognize the existence of God, they created their own gods. because to fulfill that desire. Whether they worship the sun or the rain or the water or the wind, or they created statues to worship as gods, there has always been that desire to worship. In today's day, where we are capable of thinking and understanding, spiritual realities and recognizing that need to worship, humanity, in truth, if their heart is pure and they're sincere, they search for the truth of this worship. And of course, everybody today knows there is a God, but they want to know more about it. How do I come to know God? How come to love God? And that's when Baha'u'llah presented to us the seven valley, the pathway to recognition of God and love of God. Where the first valley is the valley of search, where every human being is sometime in their life, they go through that valley of search, trying to find the truth. And once with sincerity that soul persists on searching for the truth, God's blessing will come his way and will be shown to him to how to recognize. Of course, through all the ages, this truth has been through Adam, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, Bob, Baha'u'llah, and will continue forever, infinitely. Okay? But recognition to love God has always been a desire every human has had. It's just that humanity doesn't know where to look for it. That's where we come into the picture. It's our duty and responsibility to help people to understand this and recognize it and believe in it. This is a very serious, every Baha'i has in their lifetime to teach others. Thank you.
Can I just add something to that too, Aria? If you have access to the actual word of God itself, I know this sounds really boring, but actually the more you dive into the revelation language, particularly the gleanings, the hidden words, when you first, for me it was instant, but for people we're all different, as has been stated, but that actually has the power to start to begin to help your transformation and the beginning of your journey of love. So I would not be able to enter into this conversation without, saying to people, if you have access to the revelation or tablets of Baha'u'llah, read them. Because even if you feel in the beginning they're not making a difference in your life, if you persevere with that, you begin to unfold parts of yourself through that transformation that you didn't even know. And that pathway is the seven valleys, but for some people, and I believe you're one of them, that can be instantaneous. You can traverse all, if your heart is pure, you are sincere about wanting to know God and the love of God. By the grace of God, go to the writings, go to Revelation, see with your own eyes, O Son of Justice. That's your journey, and that's how you do it. So all of what's been said, but I'm just speaking to you because I'm a very personalized person. And so I hope that what I'm trying to do is to speak to your heart, because that is the seat of the revelation. And that's where, and I'm not, disavowing intelligence and intellect and whatever else. It's all part and parcel. But you have to feel it with the very core of your being. And the way to do that is to turn to the writings, especially of Baha'u'llah. So I just wanted to give you that. I hope you don't.
No worries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everyone sharing. It was really, really insightful. Thank you.
Are you good? I see him laughing. Thank you, Aria, for that beautiful answer and question and your thoughts. Maybe we appreciate it, everyone. So I have a question now for Aria. A real question. So, based on what you've heard about the Baha'i writings, do you think that through reading the Baha'i writings, we can develop a relationship with God and help that love grow?
I think partly. I think actions, along with, daily study of the writings, can help cultivate growth. But just reading it alone, I'm not sure.
So you mentioned the idea of actions. I mean, that means a lot to a lot of people. So what do you mean when you say actions to help that love grow? Can you help me understand that?
Well, like you said before, it's unique to everyone, and everyone's has their own personal experience in their life. So, I think kind of like when I think of action, I think of kind of, for example, someone going to school. You have two people maybe who are in the same grade, same class, and someone who's succeeding and someone who's failing, or someone who's preparing and actively trying to better themselves. And you have someone who's just kind of flunking. So actively taking action would kind of be like, however that may look, in some form, taking steps to prepare or to take steps to grow. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, I imagine that a lot of people are inspired by what you're saying and your question, actually, because you heard a lot of answers. So it's very valuable that we continue to ask these types of questions for ourselves every day, especially when we're reading these Baha'i writings, especially about love of all things. Asking these questions when we meditate, asking how do we start this process? How do we know what love is? What is this that we're reading? What does it mean? What is this saying? These questions, and many like it, possibly even things I would never myself think of. All these questions, be it something that you ask or your friend, when you meditate with other people, you learn different questions that people have from their different perspectives that helps you, if you ask those questions, also enrich your own understanding. So Arya, you may ask questions that I may never ask, and likewise, I may ask questions you may never ask. But now we have a whole group of people here, right? We have Lucy, we got Terry, we got Combies, we got Armin, we got Greg, we got Sharon, Husheng, Sean, Mariam, and the Arlene. We got a group of people. Everyone has their own perspective. Some people may have similar ideas in certain areas. Some people may have very different ideas in others. And that concept of sharing and learning from one another allows us to also gain a greater sense of that love. Because imagine the wonderment you feel and the love you feel, not just through those who also share that love already, but through experiencing this discovering new things because of the perspectives that others have to offer.
John, if I may, from Kitab Aqdas, I'd like to read something. This to me is a definition of love of God. Okay, some people might think otherwise, but to me this is. This is page 19 in the Kitab Aqdas, the first tablet. Baha'u'llah says the first duty prescribed by God for his servants is the recognition of him who is the dayspring of his revelation and the fountainhead of his laws, who represented the Godhead in both the kingdom of his cause and the world of creation. Whoso achieveth this duty has attained unto all good, and whoso is deprived thereof hath gone astray, though he be the author of every righteous deed. It behooveth everyone who reacheth this most sublime station, this summit of transcendent glory, to observe every ordinance of him who is the desire of the world. These twin duties are inseparable. Neither is acceptable without the other. Thus had they been decreed by him who is the source of divine inspiration. So to me, recognition of the manifest, because none of us can know God directly. Knowing God is knowing his manifestation, recognizing their station, and obedience to laws. To me, that's the definition of love of God.
I wanted to share a passage from, it's called Illumine My Spirit. This one is the Baha'i prayers and meditations for women. But on the topic of love, I just opened up, I was meditating. And I wanted to read this little short passage. It says, may you all be united. May you all be agreed. May you serve the solidarity of mankind. May you be well-wishers of all humanity. May you be assistants of every poor one. May you be nurses for the sick. May you be sources of comfort to the broken in heart. May you be a refuge for the wanderer. May you be a source of courage to the affrighted one. Thus, through the favor and assistance of God, may the standard of the happiness of humanity be held aloft in the center of the world, and the ensign of universal agreement be unfurled. I think this short paragraph shares what true love is. And it's a true love of service to the community, to others that are, sometimes people need a crying shoulder. Like the other day at work, right out of the blue, one of our customers, she walked in and she was crying, she said, she just flat out just started crying. And, we stopped working, we stopped doing what we were doing. And we asked her, what's going on? And she said, I just wish that you could take away my pain. And I said, what, is there something that I can do? Do I need to call an ambulance? Is your family safe? Are you okay? And she said, no, my father's on his deathbed. She just started crying. So I think that sometimes God puts us in situations and he knows that we can handle it. We can be that rock for someone. I think that's what it truly means to becoming a Baha'i. You need to show through your strength and through godly attributes that you can be that unconditional love that that person needs in that moment. And it just goes to show, how you can be united, how you can be there for someone that is sick, how you can be there for someone that's heartbroken, how you can be there for someone that's happy and maybe celebrating a moment where love is that triumphant light in the darkness. So for me, that's what it means to love with and to show God's love through action. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Lucy. So we've had quite a bit of different perspectives, and that's beautiful. And I'm happy that we had some citations from the Baha'i writings as well to share to help us better understand a few of the concepts. So I think it's a good idea for us to move to the next session. The next quote, I meant. Next quote, please. Jeremiah?
This is the next one.
Okay, I didn't see a number next to it, so that helped me be okay. Thank you, Jeremiah. So, Greg, can you read? I don't have the ability to prompt people, Jeremiah, because you're co-host and host. If you can prompt them to unmute. Ah, lovely. I can prompt people to unmute. There, I just sent the request. So while we're waiting for our next reader to unmute, question about the perspectives we just shared. again, to the audience that's watching this, we all shared perspectives, and of course, there's some beautiful quotations, and the quotes such as the Kitab Aqdas that was shared, or the book, the compilation on. Lucy, can you share the name of that compilation again? I'm sorry.
Yes, this is Illumine My Spirit. Yeah.
Illumine My Spirit. Beautiful. And that's found in the Baha'i bookstore, right?
Yes, this is found in the Baha'i bookstore. It's Baha'i prayers and meditations for women. There are quotes in here from Baha'u'llah, the Bab, Abdu'l-Baha. I believe also the Guardian might be briefly in here as well. And there's different topics like on grace, on healing and love and nearness to God and things of that nature. It's a really good book that it's very helpful for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that book is available on BahaiBookstore.com. Also, as well, the Kitabi Ikan, which I refer to the idea of the what it is to be a seeker, the Kitab Aqdas, and I'm not sure if Kambi shared another book, but all of these are available online. You can view them at the Baha'i Reference Library.
And Paris Talks too, John.
Yes, Paris Talks as well. Thank you for sharing that, Sharon. Yes, Paris Talks as well can be viewed online at the Baha'i Reference Library, or you could go to oceanlibrary.com. So Baha'i.org, reference library there, or oceanlibrary.com. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. So with that being said, I tried to get, oh, Greg, we got you. Please, let's read the next quote.
The love of the human world hath shone forth from the love of God, and hath appeared by the bounty and grace of God. It is clear that the reality of mankind is diverse, that opinions are various and sentiments different, and this difference of opinions, of thoughts, of intelligence, of sentiments among the human species ariseth from the essential necessities. For the difference in the degrees of existence of creatures is one of the necessities of existence, which unfoldeth itself in infinite forms. Therefore, we have need of a general power which may dominate the sentiments, the opinions, and the thoughts of all, thanks to which these divisions may no longer have effect, and all individuals may be brought under the influence of the unity of the world of humanity. It is clear and evident that this greatest power in the human world is the love of God. It bringeth the different peoples under the shadow of the tent of affection. It giveth to the agnostic and hostile nations and families the greatest love and union.
What a beautiful quote right here. Now imagine the world is such a diverse place, yet it's full of possibilities of growth, of harmony, of unity. Right now, it isn't so united in that sense of people living happily together next to each other side by side. But we are living in a world where most of the countries recognize each other's existence. People are we used to have feudal societies 1,000 or 2 years ago. We don't have feudal systems in that sense that used to be a while back. We have developed so much, yet we have so much to do, so much to grow now. So this world we live in, a world that is growing to learn what it means to be united, having institutions that have been set up to try to establish some sense of global community. All of this happening we still have a lot of varying ideas, very, very different perspectives, very much warring ideas. People around the world are still who wish to see a united world, wondering how that could even become possible. And yet, when we read this quote here about this love that comes from God, imagine if a world existed where everyone recognized the fundamental oneness of God and humanity and this revelation from God, the religion that comes from God, knowing this harmony, this unity of the existence of our creator, this one God, this idea of one God, this love for God being the source of our unity, where we are not per se looking at everyone for all the faults and differences and problems that we share with one another, but rather looking at what we not per se have in common. Again, commonality, you're going to find very different people, but seeing what we all share in having the same creator, looking at everyone with love because we love our creator, where we all love the same creator and we love each other because we love that same creator, we have a world that is able to overcome all these differences. All this bloodshed you see around us on the basis of religion just goes away, but not that only. Obviously, every other form of conflict that we have in the world becomes nonsense. Because if you truly love your creator and you love everyone because you love that same creator, and you know that you can't go hurting people if you love that creator, it's an outlandish idea, the concept of hurting other people. So this idea, reading it, just reading the quote over again here, the love of the human world has shone forth in the love of God and hath appeared by the bounty and grace of God. It is clear that the reality of mankind is diverse, that opinions are various and sentiments different. And this difference of opinions, of thoughts, of intelligence, of sentiments among the human species ariseth from essential necessity. For the differences and degrees of existence of creatures is one of the necessities of existence, which unfoldeth itself in infinite forms. So, of course, there's all this difference. It's beautiful. So here is reading further. I'm going to say, therefore, we have need of a general power which may dominate the sentiments and the opinions and the thoughts of all, things to which these divisions may no longer have effect, and all individuals may be brought under the influence of the unity of the world of humanity. It is clear and evident that this greatest power in the human world is the love of God. So this love of God that's able to harmonize all of these otherwise opposing peoples and ideas, this love of God is able to bring us all together under the same canopy, under the same tent, the same umbrella, such that we don't view people as other, but we are one human family. It's a genuinely powerful concept, and it's not something that we see as a world. We may see it in nations, we may see it in families, we may see it in cities, we may see it in regional communities. But even though there are similarities in regional communities, you see there's very big differences among the countries that may share even the same religion. You may find people who ascribe to the same religion, yet they want to cut each other's throats because they view their religion differently, which is terrible. And God, of course, doesn't want that for us. So this idea of the love of God overcoming all that truly is a focus. And hopefully, if others have other perspectives here to help us enrich this understanding, hopefully as humanity matures in its understanding of what it means to love God, it will completely abandon these concepts that we see, that unfortunately you see people are killed in the news, you see people that are killed in mass, in war, all these things disappearing. So thoughts, please. This is a very rich quote. It has a lot of basis for us to think, to take pause, to meditate.
Yes, John, I do have a thought. I think that how do you unite on every level, from the individual to the community, to the region, to the nation, to, internationally and supranationally? How do you do that? When you have what you've mentioned and what this quote says, the diversity of culture, of religion, of all that. And I'd just like to say that Baha'u'llah, I have to refer to Baha'u'llah because that's my pivot. The beginning of all things is the knowledge of God, which we've spoken about. And the end of all things, and this has been mentioned too, is strict observance of whatsoever have been sent down. The imperium of the divine will that pervadeth all that is in heaven and all that is on earth. And my point being is that if we have one pivotal point that we can all turn to despite our differences, our diversity, our levels of consciousness, if we can turn to this point as a point of unity within the, on every level, from the individual to the family to the community and so on, and we can start from this organic position of bottom up, and the fact that if I, Sharon June Leonard, believe that there has been, since, the explosion in the 17th century of science, the period of enlightenment, which undid a lot of dogma and a lot of superstition, and we have moved forward in the 1800s with this current revelation to a point in time in humankind's history where the potential for the increased understanding in terms of consciousness, we're at that moment in time. So my point being is that all that you've said and all that has been said, there is a pivotal point that our, knowing and loving God and this dispensation and the laws that have been sent down, Baha'u'llah has sent the remedy for all the ills of humankind. And so if he is the divine physician, then, the remedy is within that revelation. And even if we're skeptical, we could try to take those remedies and apply them, and some have been mentioned today about, people who are suffering. I think Ari was talking about somebody failing at school. I was talking about, this revelation energizes, it's the energizing factor of our being and the laws and all of those other things. So my point in short is that if we turned, or we were able to know where to go to begin to turn toward that pivotal point, bit by bit, day by day, these ruinous wars, for a start, as humankind's consciousness rose and matured, they wouldn't want to go around hating and killing quite so much, because there'd be a remedy for those feelings, a remedy and an outlet for positive, energizing, good works, if you will, for humanity. Just a thought.
The human nature in its origin is animalistic, is selfish, self-centered, egotistical, cruel. Okay, that's our animal nature. Without the love of God and belief in Him and obedience to the laws, our life is only an animal existence. When individuals come to believe in the manifestation of God and abide by those laws, gradually they become detached from the animal existence, becoming more and more spiritual. One of the nature of being spiritual is to become a servant of God. Being a servant of God means to be the servant of his creatures. And look at everybody better than ourselves. When people start behaving that way and understanding, all the nonsense that exists in the world will disappear.
Well, let me jump in there for a minute. And I just want to give as an example the Uniting Hearts Academy project in Cameroon. There we have everything is only on a bartering system. Nobody makes any money. Nobody gets paid anything. I hope you see the difference, right? Nobody gets paid anything. Nobody makes money, but the way we exchange services is through bartering. That means you volunteer, and unless you're too young, too older, too sick, everything is free. Okay, so over the last 3 months, we saved over 100 lives there from malaria mostly. But our academy is about to open this coming week. And there, all the faculty there, other than the doctor, they're all Baha'is, right? So the school is about to open next week. We were shocked and felt overwhelmed because 260 students called, registered, and wanted to partake as of next week. So you can imagine our faculty feeling, oh my God, we weren't sure if anybody's coming. Now you've got almost 300 people coming. So we had to set up a system where volunteerism comes together because we're providing a service. What happened next? 2 Catholic nuns call up and say, we want to volunteer also. We want to be part of the teaching. 3 Muslim teachers said, we would like to help and we want to be part of that. Nobody gets paid. It's all in a bartering system. The classes are everything from sewing, cooking, first aid, religious, progressive revelation, and computer sciences. And we are tutoring to play soccer because we have a soccer field there and all of that. So what is happening that our project in the village of 40,000, working there with the Sunni mayor, they have understood and grasped the idea that through services, we can all collaborate and help each other. It's an amazing unfoldment. We quite honestly were not sure if people would show up at the academy. We knew the hospital would be a success. We knew the House of Devotions would be a success. We knew that the vegetable farm would be a success, but we really weren't sure. And 260 students. So I just want you to know, and I want to add, for the love of God, service, however we understand, whether you're a Catholic nun, you're a Baha'i, or you're a Sunni, to serve humanity, if you can bring across the idea how, where, when, and why, people will arise.
I just wanted to read another passage to really honor the beautiful unity of your program. This is a quote from Abdu'l-Baha. It says here, through your endeavors, through your heavenly morals, through your devoted efforts, a perfect bond of unity and love may be established between the East and the West, so that the bestowals of God may descend upon all, and that all may be seen to be the parts of the same tree, the great tree of the human family. For mankind, may be likened to the branches, leaves, blossoms, and fruit of that tree. The favors of God are unending, limitless. Infinite bounties have encompassed the world. We must emulate the bounties of God, and just as each one of them, the bounty of life, for instance, surrounds and encompasses all. So likewise, must we be connected and blended together until each part shall become the expression of the whole. Abdu'l-Baha.
That is such a beautiful, just a perfect quote, because I tell you, the especially the Baha'is there, in collaboration now with the villagers, have given so much. Some have given their lives, some have given their, literally to the point of exhaustion. They have given everything. And now that we are there, established and ready to come out, that the village suddenly has watched this project down on the lake, and they've watched this project, and they say, we want to be part of that too. That, I think, is we are just a Baha'i inspired project, right? But it is clearly inspirational when we suddenly see the people from different faiths all begin to see that the inspiration is really through the love of God and through service to all of mankind. And we've got every service in there that you can imagine. We even just had to install, don't laugh, a barber shop, because they can't afford to even get haircuts. And so therefore that we have begun to see that when everybody sacrifices, everybody else is willing to walk that path. And I am just breathless. I tell you, it's last night for the first time I could sleep after 2:30 in the morning, because they wake up and I go to sleep really, right? But for the first time, when we heard the students were flooding in, I thought, this is working. This is happening. And the mayor there is just, he and I worked together. We were astounded. When you have a theory and when you have the reality, it's often two different things. But all of a sudden, the reality and the theory have come together. And yes, it is bartering, and no, there's no money involved. Imagine that.
John, I think we can move on from this slide. We could probably do one more and then we need to close out.
Well, I was actually suggesting that maybe we close out for today so we can give our next quote the time it may deserve, So it's about 9:21 p.m. We have 9 minutes to read and discuss. I think it's best maybe we take our time. Let's maybe have some other perspective and perhaps closing prayer. So if someone has anything else they'd like to share, you're welcome. Otherwise, if you haven't already an open book closing prayer, we would love to have you say that closing prayer. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say I think that's really amazing what Ms. Abian is doing. I think it's really an example of the potential of what people can do when they sacrifice and they have a goal, an intention to do something well for the community. And I think it's really just amazing. Yeah.
It was a huge gamble, All of us were really scared, to be honest, along the way. And Enoch Olinga is the Knight of Baha'u'llah, right, for Cameroon. And we kept saying, oh, Enoch Olinga, you got to walk with us on this, we got, and everything, when we lost lives, it was so frightening. because Africa has a violence of a different kind that we're not used to, like highway bandits, right? And it can be brutal. But on the other hand, we survived it. And so, therefore, all I can tell you when it says the love of humanity was thrown aloof from the love of God and has appeared by the bounty and the grace of God. So, therefore, it's the reality of mankind. You know, how do we pull it off where you can look at it, touch it, walk down the street, touch the water, touch the cow, touch the students, touch the where it's not just a theory. So often we talk about, oh yeah, we know love of God and gumbaya, gumbaya. I'm sorry, I don't mean to, you know what I'm saying? We follow to the gumbaya scene, and then when you suddenly have the courage to do an actual factual example of something, and then you wonder if when people just come for freebies. No, bartering. For every hour of this, you provide an hour of volunteerism, right? And people they're getting it, because when you're in poverty, you understand the reality of survival. And when we say, oh, the manifestations, they all have their inner strength. Obviously, as Baha'is, we know where our strength comes from, and then we always call on inner Kalinga. But you got to remember, even the Catholic nuns came down the hill. And even the Sunni Muslims came over, because you know what? They see a project that works, where the unity can reflect that we too are part of the unity. I think that's just so cool. They don't just come to our children's classes, our devotional, but they're saving lives and feeding each other and healing each other and praying together. No teaching, no preaching, no sermons, none of that. You just sit together and pray together. Let's get it. I was going to say, let's get it on, that sound. but it's kind of where it is. And I think only for the love of God, only that when it says maybe brought under the influence of the unity of the world of humanity, it is clear and evident that this greatest power in the human world is the love of God. I mean, this quote, it says it all over. Otherwise, I hope I wasn't a distraction. And I certainly don't mean to, it's just a good example. It so happens I'm part of that, right? But it's an example. And I think we want to have realistic examples where things really work in your neighborhood. Because that mayor from Cameroon is coming to Seattle to meet with our mayor here, the African Chamber of Commerce, and the African Department at the university. You see what I'm saying? This is not just over there. This is over here too. So this is building bridges of within humanity, where we all have a common goal, and that is to be of service to each other, so we can create a more peaceful world. I'm sorry, I talk too much.
Thank you, Sabine.
Have a prayer, Chairman.
Thank you, Lucy. Please.
I apologize if there's noise in the background. My children are in the kitchen, but I have a short prayer. It's from page 103 from the Illumine My Spirit. It is my hope that day by day you will love God in ever greater measure and become more tightly bound to the beauty that abideth forever. To him who is the light of the world, for love of God and spiritual attraction do cleanse and purify the human heart and dress and adorn it with the spotless garment of holiness. And once the heart is entirely attached to the Lord and bound over to the blessed perfection, then will the grace of God be revealed. This love is not of the body, but completely of the soul. And those souls whose inner being is lit by the love of God are even as spreading rays of light. They shine out like stars of holiness in a pure and crystalline sky. For true love, real love, is the love for God. And this is sanctified beyond the notions and imaginings of men. Let God's beloved, each and every one, be the essence of purity, the very life of holiness, so that in every country they may become famed for their sanctity, independence of spirit, and meekness. Let them be cherished by draughts from the eternal cup of the love for God, and make merry as they drink from the wine vaults of heaven. Let them behold the blessed beauty, and feel the flame and rapture of that meeting, and be struck dumb with awe and wonder. This is the station of the sincere. This is the way of the loyal. This is the brightness that shineth on the faces of those nigh unto God. Abdu'l-Baha.
Thank you, Lucy. And thank you to everyone who joined tonight. We look forward to seeing you all next week.